Right, so chill for everyone, right? No singing today. Yeah, it's kind of planned so that you guys can have a bit of downtime after after all those sessions. But today we're going to talk about collaboration with a pianist. Now, obviously, this thing is a tricky thing to talk about, and also very difficult to really sort of codify or sort of structurize how to go about presenting how to work with a pianist. But I've come up with a sort of structure. So we'll look at tempo. Obviously, it's kind of like the first thing when you are collaborating with someone. And we'll talk about ensemble. We'll talk about how you mark your score for your pianist. And then at last, we'll talk about what you do in rehearsals. Okay. Today, piano is a bit front. Cool. Right. Okay, so there are a few things to think about when you are collaborating with pianists. Obviously, as a singer, it is kind of like your life, right? That you just have to work with a pianist, right? There's no other way about it. If you're a pianist, you can choose to just play solo all day long, and not see anyone. But as a singer, you always have to collaborate with people. So I always say that singers are actually a very social type of people because they always have to, work with people. The least working with one pianist, you know. The most working in an opera production with chorus, with the orchestra or whatever. So collaboration is always in what you do as a singer. So the first thing I want to talk about is setting up tempo. So this this is kind of like the first thing that you need to think about, right? When you work with a pianist on a piece. Okay, you have a piece. The first thing we need to think is how fast it is. Okay, and first of all, you need to think what is your tempo. First of all, you need to be very clear of what your tempo is, and how do we determine what kind of tempo we should sing? That is, I think, a very important question for you guys to think about, because a lot of times we look at a piece and then we go listen to a recording, right? When we want to learn a new piece, go listen to a recording. Oh, they sing sort of like this tempo, and then another one sing somewhat similar tempo. Another one sing a little bit slower, but also somewhat in that area of tempo. Then you decide, okay, this is going to be my tempo, something like the tempo that people sing in the recording, right? But that might not be the best tempo for you. So how to determine your own tempo? You need to find what I call the key passage in your song. Okay, not the first line. Almost always it won't be the first line of your song, your aria, or whatever. It's normally going to be somewhere in the middle. If it is a fast song, it might be somewhere in the middle of the song when you have a lot of words to say suddenly. Okay, the whole song, say 3 pages, and then in the middle you have a section with 4 semiquavers, and then you have a lot of words to say. So that will be your determining key passage of the tempo of the song. Because if you set the tempo faster than how you can sing that 4 semiquavers, then you just basically perform that to let people see that or hear that you cannot sing those 4 semiquavers. Okay, get what I mean? So If it's a fast piece, you need to find where is the busiest place in the piece. If it's a slow piece, you need to find where is the longest phrase in the whole song that you have decided to sing. So you have the longest phrase, maybe somewhere in the middle of the second bar, and that longest phrase will determine how your tempo will go. If you take that song slower than that, that just means that you won't make it for the whole phrase. Okay, so when determining the tempo for yourself, find the key passage in the piece, in the song, in the aria. And then, when you meet the pianist, what do you do to communicate the tempo? There are a few ways. Usually is to just sing your first line. Okay? Sing your first line to the pianist very clearly. Don't be like, I think my tempo is yeah, something like that. You know, it's like I'm not catching what you just sang. Okay, my tempo for this aria is okay, then the pianist will understand. Also remember to just sing your line. Just sing the first line of your piece. Of course, when it makes sense, okay. If your first note is like a super long note, then you don't have to sing that note. Or if your first line is a recitative, then you don't do that, right? Because if you say my tempo is Om Brahma, then I have no idea what the tempo is. Okay, so usually it's the first line of your piece. If not, you can also sing the accompaniment. Okay, try not to sing the accompaniment if you can just sing your first line. Then you sing your first line. Okay. And tempo is a tricky thing because as singers we are very used to I don't know, following what the pianist is playing. But I think the main reason is because usually the pianist will have an introduction to the piece. So if the pianist plays an introduction to the piece, and you'll be like, I think it's a bit slow lah. Never mind, just sing again, just sing that. Then you just set yourself up to be to basically screw up your whole performance of your aria. So if the pianist starts with and then you feel like it's a bit slow, then when you come in, you need to sing your own tempo. Yeah, you need to sing your own tempo. This is true, especially true for if you go for an audition. Okay? Because if you go for an audition and you don't know how to take your own tempo, then basically the reason why you don't choose a tempo is because of various reasons. Right? Some is because phrases are just too long if I sing in this tempo, or if this is too fast, I just don't have time to sing that high note or whatever. You always have a reason why you don't choose the tempo that you don't choose. So always take back your own tempo. There is a practice that I really like. Oh, let me just use my iPad, which is practicing with a metronome. Now, this practicing with a metronome is not what you think practicing with a metronome is. Okay? This is practicing with a metronome that is wrong. So set the metronome at a wrong tempo. So for example, maybe a bit slower. So let's take the same aria. So set at this tempo and then imagine the whole introduction. Bum, 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 da, 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 da. Dee-dum, ba-dum, 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 bum, bum, ba-dum, ba-dum. Voi che sapete che cosa è amor. So come in straight away, opposing the metronome. Okay? This is what you can do when you're alone. If you are at a rehearsal with a pianist, you can ask the pianist, can you just let me practice something? Play this one too slow or play this one too fast, and then I'll come in with my own tempo. And then you let me know if I've changed the tempo. Sometimes you didn't actually change the tempo and then you didn't realize. So sometimes the pianist can tell you that. So this is a practice that you can do for tempo. Okay? Great. Now this thing also somewhat related to tempo, but it's a crossover to what we're going to talk about in ensemble, is these three things. These three are different rhythmic situations that you find in any song that you sing. Okay, it will be one of the three. Maybe sometimes it is mixed around, but these are the three types. Okay, one is the V and P is voice and piano. First one is when the piano has very long notes, and then when the voice has short notes. Okay, this is the first situation. The second situation is the ballet, so the piano has very small notes, and then the singer's notes are smaller or are longer than the piano part. And then the third one is quite rare, but also happens sometimes, which is when the voice and the piano has exactly the same rhythm. Okay, so these are the three types of rhythms that you find. If you go to the file in Google Drive. Okay, we can copy that first. Yeah, if you go to the file in Google Drive, the first one is it's a song by Beethoven. So look at when the voice is coming in. The piano has a lot of small little notes, right? So this situation is number 2, okay, where the piano has a lot of notes going on. Go to the next slide. You find this song by Mahler, which is example number 3. So you're singing together with the piano. This is example number 3. And go to the third slide. This is a song by Schubert. So this one is example number 1. Okay, so you can always categorize your pieces in terms of these types of rhythms. Now, what these rhythms help us in terms of tempo is that when you are in this situation, number 1, you don't really need to tell your pianist what the tempo is. The pianist will be able to tell from your notes. Okay, that is the easiest situation in the singer's perspective. In terms of setting tempo. Okay, this one is the easiest. Number 3 is the second. So when you have this, the pianist has the same rhythm as you, but you always take charge. I always say, because you have text, because you have consonants before the vowels and always consonants have to come before the vowel, right? So every time you have number 3, you take charge. So that's also relatively easy in terms of communicating tempo. Rhythm number 2 is what you'll find most frequently, unfortunately. So this one is the most difficult because the piano has something that's moving, that keeps moving, and you just have to tell them what tempo you're really taking. So when you have a list of say 5 songs you want to work with the pianist, right? If you identify any of these 2, then you know that those are easier in terms of setting tempo. Number 2 will be harder, especially if you have things like this. Different color. If you have things like this, you know, cases that you have to take a breath, the pianist will have to kind of adjust with you. Okay, and that actually brings us to the next point, ensemble. When you know these 3 different rhythmic situations, you know how your ensemble will be. This one is very easy. You take charge of the things, unless if you have things like unless if you have things like this, where you are breathing just before the piano plays the next chord or note or whatever, then you have to tell the pianist that you are taking a breath there. Okay. Otherwise, this is very easy to do. When you're together in an ensemble, this one basically you need to know what you want in terms of how you're singing your lines, and then the pianist will just have to follow what you do. And I hope I've brought this up enough that when you see this rhythm, depending on the language, it might not be exactly that rhythm. Okay, if you see this rhythm and you have if you're singing this in English and then you're singing in German and then you have some sort of consonant clusters somewhere, the rhythm will not exactly be this rhythm. So so those are the times where you communicate with the pianist to say, this is actually, I'm actually taking time a bit here because I have to sing, before the next note, kind of thing. And then this one, obviously, the pianist has something that is moving on, and if you have things like this, you will need to communicate with them. So thinking rhythmically this way will make you first of all look at what the piano is doing, and then second, look at how you're actually communicating as an ensemble, collaborating as an ensemble. Okay. Another thing that you should also see in your music is the melodic elements in the pieces. So if you go to another slide in the far, this is in the middle of Schumann's Widmung. And if you see, when a singer says Himmel, the left hand of the piano has this. So because that is kind of like a melody that comes out of nowhere, right? If you see, look at the left and the right of the piano part, you have you just have a regular accompaniment pattern, and then you have. So those are the times you need to be aware of that the pianist is doing that. And then be aware that when you're singing Himmel, you are actually hearing this. So have this kind of duet going on with your pianist. Go to the next one. Now this one is kind of both ways. The left hand of the piano has so the left hand of the piano has this, and then the singer has so then it will be a kind of a duet because the left hand is also a melody itself. So then you have so then you are singing a duet with the left hand of the piano. Okay, pay attention to melodies that exist in the piano part. The next one is a song by Fauré called Over the Low, and this one you don't really have a melody that goes together, but the piano actually plays the melody after you sing. So so you have this very high on the piano. So you need to be aware that this thing is actually happening when you're learning your music. So then when you're collaborating with your pianist, you know that this is happening. Yeah, all the melodic elements. And then the next thing to think about when you're in ensemble is requirements from the singer and the pianist. So what are the things that singers require at different moments in the song? And also what are the requirements that pianists would what are the requirements that pianists would want at a certain moment in the song? So examples are this. Singers have a natural requirement of taking a breath, right? So if there are phrases that ends in an awkward place, you cannot just not take a breath. You need to take a breath because you need air to sing. So that's one kind of requirement. Another kind of requirement is language. So if you're saying a consonant cluster like sh, before a note, that's a requirement that a singer has because that is in the language, and you need to be able to get those consonants out in a certain period of time. So that's part of requirements. Requirement from the pianist can be what? Can be if the pianist has to do a chord very quickly from the bottom to the high range of the piano, they might need some time. If the pianist is rolling a big chord, they might need some time. The pianist is playing a very difficult piece, they cannot go too fast. Okay, so those are the requirements from each party that you have to consider. So go to the next slide. You have a place in Schubert's Ständchen that the singer has this word, Liebesschmerz. Liebesschmerz. Okay? But the rhythm is Liebesschmerz. So you need a little bit of time. So then the pianist will need to accommodate what the singer requires. If not, the pianist will play it straight. And the pianist will be earlier than you. Okay, so this is one of the things that singer requires. Go to the next slide. The next slide is a little bit messed up because I didn't move the score together with the commas, but you know where the commas are? The commas are all at the end of the sentences. Friedrichshagen, der Freund sitzt weiter Ich sehe es heiter, then eher light. Okay? So those are the places that you need to take a breath. If the pianist doesn't know, they will play. Okay? There's no way you can take a breath there in time. So they'll have to accommodate that. So then the pianist will have to accommodate that. So when the singer has a certain requirement, the pianist will accommodate. When the pianist has a certain requirement, the singer will also have to accommodate. This is why this is a collaboration.
Is there a situation where maybe a piece will be too big, the pianist has to slow down a bit, but the singer cannot accommodate or vice versa?
Yeah, correct. Go to the next slide, we can find that. This is this is exactly what she's like a prophet in this class. She always can tell ahead of time. The piece is very fast for the pianist, and that phrase is also quite long for the singer. This is a song by Strauss called Heimliches Aufforderung. I won't say another piece. So this phrase, that is your phrase as a singer. It's a pretty long phrase. But at the same time, the pianist has so many notes to play. So you always have to find a balance in between. Of course, the pianist cannot say, "Hey, can you sing this tempo?" Then that's a bit too slow lah, because the pianist needs to be able to play up to a certain tempo. But at the same time, the singer cannot say, "Can you do then that's too fast." Okay, so it's always achieving a balance. A lot of things in a collaboration is achieving a balance. Achieving a balance and also achieving an agreement between both of you. Okay. So yeah, for instance, this one you cannot sing too slow that you run out of breath in that phrase. At the same time, you cannot sing too fast that it's just impossible to pick up again. Okay. The next one is also another requirement from the pianist, because at the end of all those craziness, they have to play this chord. Oops, quite a big chord. So as a singer, there's no limitation at this point, because you can take as much time as you can to sing. But you just need to know that this is happening in the piano part. So you cannot sing exactly in rhythm. So this is Barber's Hermit Song, St. Edith's Vision. So this is the bar before that. So you see the top note actually comes quite long after the last note of the last bar. Okay, so if you do, it's too late. That's too early. Okay, so you have to accommodate that, and at the same time, it is also a very good opportunity for you to use the text for expression. Okay. So looking at different difficulties, or I call them requirements. Okay, it's not really difficulty per se, but it's just things that you have to do. Okay, you need to take a breath. You need to say the consonant clusters. The pianist needs to play a certain chord in a certain time. So those are the requirements that you have. So identifying those when you are learning a piece, then you know how to. Then you'll be aware that, oh, this is actually a problematic part. Other than just go and play, just go and sing with the pianist and then don't know what's going on, and then only realizing that, actually the pianist has one more note to hear to play before I sing. I didn't know that, that kind of thing. Yeah, so you need to know that, and in all of that, you need to recognize who is leading when in the piece. For instance, you have number one, the singer is leading. If the singer is changing the tempo, the singer is leading here. Number two, the pianist is leading because the pianist has notes that is going on. Okay. If you need to take time at some place, then you need to lead. You need to lead that. So, for instance, places like in a Puccini aria where you take time before the pianist joins back in the next bar, you need to take charge of that. So, being able to use two things are important as a singer: your voice and the text. Okay, using your voice to lead and using the text to lead. This actually goes into the next few slides I have on the file. The blank on the schema, and then you see the thing with sensai in your pen. That is when you have to use I think more the text than the voice. So this is at the end of a song by Ronaldi called Hotel Nyoma. In order for the pianist to know when to play the next chord, they will have to listen to your text. And also notice that the pianist is actually playing a little acciaccatura before the chord. So and that note has to come before the chord, right? So you cannot let the pianist to just play that note and then don't know when the next note comes. So you need to be able to do something like this. So you're leading with your voice, because this is mio. We talk about mio being the important vowel is on E. So the moment when you change to O indicates that you're going to the next note, to the next word. Yeah. So you're leading with the text. Go to the next slide. This is from Don Elieta, Puccini. This is when you use your voice to lead because there is a portamento. So how you lead that, how you sing that portamento actually tells us what kind of movement you want that aria to that this section to be. If you do things like so that will be the pace that we go. If you do then it's a little bit more movement. Okay, so you're actually portamento to do that. So those are the places you need to know how to take charge. Okay. Next, which is the last slide I have. This is the beginning of the same RM. How you use the text at the moment will tell us your energy, your pacing. So if I say so it's a little bit laid back kind of feeling, and it all comes from how I enunciate the words. Okay, and this is very true, especially for this opening. If I do, then that has a little bit more kind of movement in that. If I don't use the text, you kind of don't know where I'm going with. So you don't actually know what I want to do if I'm not clear. So this is very clear in how you use your text when you're singing, and a very decent pianist will pick it up too. You don't really have to tell them exactly what you want. So this is also another thing. We'll talk about it in when we're at rehearsals. Okay, so identify those things in terms of questions in ensemble. The next one is score marking. Score marking is also a very interesting thing to talk about. It depends on how experienced your pianist is. It depends on how sensitive they are when they accompany. Your marking will vary a little bit, but important things are breath marks. Okay, breath marks like this is very important, or like this is very important. If you have a line like that, and then you have some rest, and then your next phrase starts, then don't mark breath mark lah, because we know you're taking a breath there. Then you don't have to mark, because again, depending on which pianist you get, when we are playing, right, we're very drawn to things that are marked. Okay, and if you mark it here, it's kind of like a wasted sort of attention for us. It's like, of course you're going to take a breath. I don't need to slow down or anything. So why do you mark here? You don't have to mark. Okay, but this time you have to mark, because then we know that, oh, she's taking a breath, so I have to stop and then go with her. Okay. Breath marks. And places when you take time. Okay. Places when you want to take time naturally for either for text, or like those Liebesschmerz, or places that you need to take time because you are going over a certain note, a certain high note. Those you mark. But if on the score there is already a retard written or col canto written, then you don't have to mark. It's already there. Then we know that you just have to slow down at that point. Yeah. So things are in the score that either the composer or the editor has marked. For instance, a forte. Don't go and mark another forte for the pianist. It's already there. Okay. I've had experience playing for auditions of different levels. Okay, from from kids who want to come into a university to study as a first year, so high school kids. Some are very good in their preparation, so they prepare everything very nicely. When you open the score, it's full of things, full of translations, full of markings, every breath mark, and then whoever is playing for the audition, I will go like, yeah, I don't know what to look at. There are too many things, especially translation. There's just no time to look at translations when you are. Yeah. When we're doing auditions, we're just sight reading. It will be the same for any auditions that you go to, like if you are, unless you're bringing your own pianist. If the company that is doing an audition has their own pianist, they just sight read. It is true for from KL City Opera until Metropolitan Opera. Okay, they have their own pianist, and then whoever comes in to audition, the pianist will just sight read. Sometimes you have an aria that the pianist knows. Usually the pianist knows because they know a lot of repertoire. But sometimes you have an aria that the pianist knows, and then they will start by playing a different tempo than what you want. So then it will be your initiative to change that tempo in this kind of audition situations. But generally, when you are preparing for an exam or for a jury or for recital, mark your score when it's needed. Okay, when things are not as straightforward as what you see on the page. Okay, like this kind of marking, like when you have maths. Okay, then you mark those movements before you give it to a pianist. Yeah, this is also another thing. Important notes that you need to hear from the piano part. This is more true for later composition like French, like Fauré and after, or you have contemporary music. Sometimes it's very difficult to find the notes, but when you practice yourself, it's very easy to find the notes because you have the piano mat. And then when you go and sing, you don't know your note because you have never played the piano part, so you don't know where from the piano part you actually find your notes. So that is when you need to find out where in the piano part do you find your notes. If it is from a little melody in the left hand, then you have to mark that out because that is important. Okay, that is when you hear that note, and that is also when for pianists, whatever we do, we have to play those notes. Okay, the other notes we don't play also never mind. You have to play those notes because those are notes that you rely on when you're singing. You're starting a phrase, you find your notes. Okay, or the melodies that you want to hear from the piano part, because either you join a melody or your next note is a third lower than the last note of the piano melody, kind of thing. Sounds familiar? So the piano plays a melody, then you're singing in your heart. Okay, that's third down, and then my next note is this. Okay, that kind of thing. Cool. I don't know how relevant this will be at this age because people are already using iPads like myself. But if you're printing out scores for your pianist, ask them how they want the scores to be. Okay. usually just laying out very nicely 2 pages, 2 pages, 2 pages is fine. Don't do those like you stick 8 pages together and then you open up like that one. Personally, I really don't like it. It's like if one page falls, the whole thing falls, you know. Yeah, so ask their preference. Last time when I used to use scores, my preference will be just photostat everything single-sided, and then don't bind, don't do anything, and I'll take it because I'll arrange the score like how I like it, you know, like the first 2 pages and I turn, and then the last page I can open like that, so I can see 3 pages, kind of thing. I like that, but after that I feel like it's very not environmental friendly because all the scores has to be single-sided. So I bought that. Yeah. Yeah. So really to ask the pianists to what they prefer. If not, what they will do, they will take whatever score that you give them and then they'll go and photocopy another copy. Then you just wasted the money anyways. Okay. Right. Last thing. Rehearsals. So we know all this, right? We paying attention to all these kind of things in the pieces that we learn. We mark out where we need to take a breath. We identify whether it's this type 2, sounds like type 2 diabetes, type 1 diabetes, type 1 rhythm, type 2, type 3. Then and you know, okay, this is when I lead a lot of time, and then this is when the pianist actually leads in this section, that kind of thing. After all those things, what happens in the rehearsal room is the most important thing, because what happens there will determine how your performance will be. Okay. Yeah, when you're rehearsing with a pianist, this is what I think is always true. Use we, not you or I. Okay. If you feel like the pianist should slow down at this point because you have this kind of things to do in your singing, you say, I think we should slow down a little bit at this point. Okay? You know, I think you should slow down because I'm singing this. It's like, oh, okay, sorry, I have to slow down that kind of thing. So it's always think of it as a collaboration, as a team. Even though it is very clear that the pianist screw up, the pianist has to do something, you say we. Same is also true for pianists. Okay? If you feel like the singer is taking too much time, you say, I think we can move on a little bit quicker, you know, because this and this and this. Okay? Always communicate how you feel about things, and try to be as honest as possible when you are collaborating with a pianist, because for example, you rehearse the piece, and then the pianist thinks that this piece needs to be a little bit faster because it's just not numb, the feeling, right? And then you feel like actually numb there for me, right? Then they say, okay, let's try. Okay, let's try a bit faster tempo. After you try, you still feel not very numb, but you like, I say like, it's okay lah, just a little bit faster. I can still sing. Then okay lah. Then okay, we do that. And you didn't tell the parents, actually, I still feel that it's a little bit too fast. I think you should communicate honestly, although it will be like in this example, it will be some sort of a conflict, right? I feel that this is the right tempo. I don't feel that it's the right tempo. We always have these kind of situations. Okay. I've played pieces that are way too fast from my liking or way too slow, but always just find an agreement between you and the pianist. And I mean, honestly, if it is this kind of example where a little bit faster or a little bit slower, usually the pianist will be okay with you, because the singer is the main person who is speaking the text, who is singing the text, and so you have to feel the most comfortable. Okay, at least is one thing. Okay. Um, yeah. So in rehearsal, you have to always communicate. This is this might be easy for some people, but it may be hard for some other people because each of us have different character. But when we are working with people, you always need to speak up. You always need to say what you think. You always need to suggest different ideas. Um, yeah. So if you are a very shy person, very quiet person, then you need to work on, you know, uh, work on expressing yourself more, telling the person you work with what you think and what your idea is, those kind of things. So yeah, rehearsals are really important. When you see a recital, you don't exactly know what happened in the rehearsal room, right? Sometimes the recital can be really, really powerful, but in rehearsals they might have an argument of some sort, or some kind of collaboration that I also experienced myself, where it also depends with which kind of singer I work with. Sometimes we prepare for a recital, we go to the first rehearsal, and then we just play the music. We just play it once, and then I feel like okay, it's okay, and then the singer feel like yeah, it's okay. Let's try it one more time. Let's do that again. All good. No questions. Next, kind of thing. But I've also been in rehearsals where we rehearse the first piece, and then we talk about the first phrase for 5 minutes, and then we talk about the second phrase for 10 minutes. So different ways of collaboration, and it's always always important to remember is what you want. Okay, what you really want in this piece. What is your what kind of message you want to bring about in this song, or what kind of feeling you want the audience to have when you're performing this song. So really come down to what you want as a singer. Okay. Yeah, so that's about it for this collaboration with pianists. So I guess the main thing that we need to remember is this, okay, the three different rhythmic situations, because this is really one of the most important things in a collaboration in an ensemble. Yeah, it is the same for string quartet, for example, when they're rehearsing as well, or for a piano quintet. So we know that who has more notes to play, who has the main melody. Well, this one you don't really need to think who has the main melody. The singer always has some sort of melody, and the pianist sometimes have a melody. So sometimes the duet, sometimes it's one person has the melody. But in a piano quintet, for example, you have 5 person. Sometimes the viola has the melody, sometimes the cello has the melody, sometimes the piano has the melody. So this kind of things you need to pay attention to. Okay, thank you. So that is good. on our collaboration mechanics. Okay, the next thing I want to go through is really just like a roundup of this program. This is the last day, okay? So no more Monday nights to come to Scale CO, at least for now. And 2021 is coming, 2020 is ending. Yeah, I hope you have learned something throughout these few weeks. How many weeks? I don't remember. 5 weeks or something? Yeah, 5 weeks. Because we have 5 group sessions in the program. Yeah, as I said last time, initially we want to have group coaching, so that it's not so intense, but it was quite intense for you guys. So good job for you for being able to withstand all these. Okay, so as a general conclusion, I want you to finish by really remembering that as a singer, you are communicating text when you are singing. Okay? You're communicating text using your singing voice, right? So this is the foundation that you always need to remember, because when you're up there singing, you are really the messenger. Okay? Every song that you sing has a meaning to it because of the text that you have. You have to realize actually it's a very privileged thing. If you think of the whole music scene, you have orchestra, you have piano solo, you have violin concerto, you have whatever. But as a singer, it's only in vocal repertoire that you have the text as foundation, and the text is actually communicated out in the performance. Okay, only vocal music does that. Some instrumental music has a sort of foundation. It is based on the story of this or this or this. Okay, but when they are performing, it's just sounds. Okay, they don't perform the exact text. So as a singer, you are actually performing the exact text. That is why it's really important for you to keep this as foundation in your performance. So, this program is really for you to have different sort of pillars in your foundation, right? For you to really build up your own artistic career. That is why we do things like, what is the style of German lieder, what is the style of Italian arias, recitative, how do you sing that kind of thing. Really set you up for the building to be built. So moving forward, there are a few things I think you need to take care of when you're moving forward. Is first the growth of your voice. You need to know, we didn't do a lot of technical stuff because it's not what I really do, but the growth of the voice is a very important thing for you to keep in mind as you move forward, because a light lyric soprano at age 20 might not be a light lyric soprano at age 28. Okay, they might develop into into a bigger voice, usually a bigger voice, but it might go either way. A baritone might not stay a baritone. I know few very good baritones that has sung professionally up till, I think he's 31 now, but it was only 2-3 years ago that he changed to be a tenor. So the voice actually grows to a different, might grow into a different path. Domingo started as a baritone before he became a tenor. Jonas Kaufmann started as a pretty light lyric tenor. Now he sings Wagner and all those things. So, so what I want to say is really understand the path of your growth and pick your repertoire according to that. Sometimes there will be things that you really want to sing that you probably shouldn't. Okay. But sometimes there are things that you should sing at that point that you don't really like. Okay, so you have to juggle between that in your growth. So learning repertoire, and really in terms of repertoire, also think of different different genres of repertoire. Don't just sing things that you have heard, or things that you know your friends sing, and then so I want to sing, or you heard this person sing on YouTube that you want to sing. But try and expand that. Always when you choose a piece of song to learn, know that what kind of song is this? Is this a love song, a slow song? What does it show in my voice? It shows my line, okay, because it's a slow and very lyrical voice, lyrical song. Then it shows this part of my voice. What about a different part of your voice, like a fast singing, like being cute, you know, or being very serious when you sing. You always find that. I mean, it is true. Some singers do well in a certain region. Some singers come out and then they just sing funny songs. They sing funny songs, sing very fast songs, they sing very cute kind of songs, and this is what they are very good at. But then in the middle of the recital, you suddenly hear Dove Sono, which is like slow and very lyrical. That will be a very nice contrast. Okay, so in terms of your own repertoire, you need to have contrasting pieces as well, okay, to show different sides of you. You might think that you won't be good in singing cute, okay, but if you don't try, you don't know, okay. So really need to explore this kind of different expression, different ways of singing. Not to mention different language.
Actually, your thoughts on like certain areas, whether your temperament, your own temperament suit the particular characters of your work. Because I have a trouble with that, just choosing repertoire whereby I know my voice can handle this and everything, but people have object only because of the temperament of myself as a person and how the character is as
Yeah.
their person. That is the biggest issue I have when choosing, especially areas I'm not so much of a leader.
Yeah. Okay.
So,
I think being able to handle, I think your voice being able to handle a piece is more important than whether if you look at me, am I Rodolfo or am I Don Ottavio? Okay. I want to be a tenor, like that's why I always say Rodolfo. I think your voice being able to handle a piece is more important. But that said, being able to handle a piece and the voice suitable for that piece is also a different thing. Okay. Some people have a very good range and they are able to sing a lot of different pieces, but but you will find that this is also a thing that you need to know for yourself as you develop. You need to know that whether certain piece shows off your voice well enough. Okay, there might be two arias that you can sing, but one of it we hear and then we be like, yeah, okay, very nice. And another one is like, whoa, that's amazing, you know. So whether the aria is suitable for you is also a different question. So that comes down to whether that tessitura suits you, whether that whether the color of your voice suits that particular aria. I don't know if that's also a crossover to the temperament side, whether a color of a voice suits that particular role. Okay, some people might think of that as part of the argument of, you know, you're not suitable to sing that role kind of thing. So there are a few things to consider when you're choosing a piece. Are you able to express yourself as the person in the opera? So that role in the opera. Maybe people might not think that you are suitable, but that doesn't really mean that you just don't sing that, right? As I said, it's always good to explore a different side of yourself. Since you asked the question, let's just take Mabel. Mabel is a very expressive singer, but you notice that a lot of things that she sings are like lyrical stuff, love song stuff, right? So if I put something like fast and something like dancey for Mabel, you might not be able to imagine that. But just that also comes just because you haven't seen that side of her. Maybe you haven't seen that side of yourself. Okay, so I'm always open to try and explore different things as an artist. Yeah. Yeah. So that would be more of a more advanced kind of consideration as you are choosing a repertoire, right? Oh yeah, this is also a very good tip to have, because we are in the 21st century and then we have Spotify, right? When you want to find pieces that you can explore, you can find you can find online on Spotify is very easy to do, because you can just find, say, my voice has a very similar color as Roberto Alagna. So I find Roberto Alagna, I can see all his albums, right? I can see all his albums, I can see what he sings, what kind of repertoire he has sung, what kind of repertoire that I think might be some maybe like out of the box for this artist. So everything I can see that on Spotify. You just click on his profile page, right? On the other hand, if you are singing Erlkönig by Schubert, and then you're wondering how different people are interpreting it, search Erlkönig, and then you have the song list. You have different artists that are singing, and then you can find. Sometimes you might find, oh, how come this person is singing this piece? Then you can listen and see what kind of things they're doing differently. So it's actually a very, very good trick to have here. Yeah. So again, just keep in mind all these things as you move forward. And yeah, as we've worked with in as we've worked together in our one-to-one coachings, I've said things that you know uh, things that you need to pay attention to, things that things that are good in your singing, things that I think you can try to explore. Yeah, so those are things that I think you can try and take and bring back with you, yeah, after the program. Okay. Thank you.
Want to take a short break?
Sure. Take a short break.
Okay. Want to be giving out your certificates of completions of the course, and also individual feedback on whether each of you. So before we do that, let's take a quick bio break and come back. And then we also have survey. Okay, 2 minutes. Okay, 5 minutes. 5 minutes.
Yeah, that's a really something that is not. I didn't move the dots together with the score, that's why. Yeah, it's all there. It's all
So what's your interest? Listening to sopranos. What would you think of this? Oh, you mean as I mean, Sierra is I know what is different. Okay. I think Sierra is on the right side. She is also
So that's the reason I can see
when I was in America, going to the room of my professor. The first thing you see is a huge poster that says farewell concert, Carnegie Hall, Renata Tebaldi, Martin Katz.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I really regret things related to body, not being able to see a life and just know, especially this one, she was missing part of it. So, how are you?
Yeah. Yes, yes, yes. In fact, she was a judge in one of the competition.
One of the teachers now.
Charity who's your
I know, Mira Sani. I was listening to a lot.
friend, very friendly to study her voice is quite one of our friend, Michelle, yes, she studied for her voice is also
Really? Wow. Training is one of the same teachers around here. Is it not?
Yes,
Correct?
yes.
they
Yeah,
all
our
sing
friend.
together.
Yeah, correct.
That's a nice group.
I love training, especially because of national area. The scheme of NASA is less famous to my. We listen to us.
Have you listened to the Asta Diva?
Oh,
Legendary Asta Diva.
I love it.
It's oh my
No,
God.
that's my goal. I know in this time I
How you know?
the other day I asked teacher, I said, "What about me? Cast your head." I know that's answer.
It's so motivating. Oh, good. But I think actually yours should have some references. But like Vanessa said, you have to find something and then you go over so that you can see. You know? And plus, as you grow older, your voice will change. You may not end up, in the same path.
Yeah.
So you may have to change.
Maybe 10 years later, you have a completely different list of singers that you listen to.
I think that's the problem for me. I'm in that transition period where I don't know who to listen to anymore. But I used to listen like the same thing. That's what it is.
That's why I think when you tell me your reference points, I think they're kind of all
That's not more. And Ishma is more like I know why the social media is providing this. Because normally it's the other way around. They go over the human providing.
Like I said, differentiate one like because it brings this is the one that uses.
Aspire to get to
Okay, good. Okay, so we have your but before I give that to you, we have a short survey. If you look at your votes, I sent to you the ADP group. Yeah. You don't mind to just spend about the next 2 or 3 minutes with us, provide us your feedback. Some are straightforward, yes, no. And then there's some part where you can actually give your comments. Don't worry, it's anonymous, so you can say whatever you want. But they wouldn't mind. Okay, just a few minutes. You have your phone.
Done.
Done. Sure. So,